Hello YouTube! Hazy headlights. Crown Vics are notorious for them, especially if you've gotten a police interceptor from an auction. Today I'm going to show you how to make these look brand new. You can certainly go online, there's lots of places, eBay, Amazon and so forth, that sell replacements. The problem with those is you really don't know what sort of quality you're getting. If you're paying a cheap amount, you're probably not getting OEM quality, and they're going to haze up pretty quick. For example, this set was about a $20 or $30 set off of Amazon, about a year old, and they're already really hazed up, even though I generally take pretty good care. You can see these are the same age, and these have already gotten really bad, whereas these still acceptable. You can do everything I'm going to show you on the car. It just requires masking everything off. Because the Crown Vic headlights are so easy to remove, I'm going to go ahead and do this off the car. I have a complete video on all the lights on the Crown Vic. Just as a refresher, take the headlight housing out. You remove that plastic tray that's in front, and then pop these up. You've seen some of my other videos, you've heard me talking about that this Crown Vic was probably in a wreck before I got it, because some of the other pieces were broken off. The major one that was broken off though was inside the headlight housing here. All of this was missing, so I'm guessing they hit something in this corner right before they sold it to me. It didn't show up on any kind of Carfax or anything. But you see what I did? I took Kydex and I melted it around this corner here, glued it down, drilled the hole where, you know, there's supposed to be 3 holes to hold the headlight housing. This one was missing, so I created my own. It's worked fairly well. It's not perfect, but compared to replacing this whole piece, obviously it was a lot easier to do. Have the headlights off the car, put some tape over that hole. You don't want to get any water in there. Obviously I'm going to try my best not to get any water even on the back side there at all, but our first step is to get all this oxidation off. Got a 400 grit sandpaper. We're going to do a wet sand here. Going to do mostly, when our final sand is going to be side to side. You've got to get all of this oxidation off first. Because the oxidation is not coming off, I'm going to hit it with a little 180. You obviously don't want to put a lot of pressure on the 180 because it's going to leave some pretty deep scratch marks. So I'm basically going to sand this with the 180 and then hit it again with the 400. And my goal is to get just kind of a hazy but smooth surface. These were really oxidized, so I went ahead and hit them with the 180 really hardcore and try to get the paint stripped off of them. And then hit them with the 400. I'm probably going to hit them now with 800 and maybe a 1500 before I paint them. But it's okay if they look real hazy before you paint them, because the paint will clear all that up. Alright, I've been sanding for a long time. I'm running out of daylight here, so I'm going to call it quits. But basically the procedure is start with a lower number of grit, get all the oxidation off, and then get progressively higher grits to get it smoother and smoother. Around these little knobs it's kind of hard. You see there's still some oxidized paint there, but the bulk of this is pretty smooth. So I'm going to dry it off, clean it with TSP, and then we're going to spray it with the clear paint. So the reason these oxidize in the first place is because the paint on them gets chipped or worn out over time. This is the type of paint you need to have. Something that'll bond to plastic, gloss clear, non-yellowing, and UV resistant. So the UV will help keep it from being oxidized, and the non-yellowing will keep it from turning yellow. got, I think, 2 or 3 coats on here now. You see it's making a lot of progress. That's about the speed that you can do the clear without it running. But it starts out hazy and then it dries where it's looking pretty good. So I may hit it with 2 or 3 more coats like that and hopefully be done. This is the end result. I'll tell you, it's probably not showing up on camera, but when I was basically doing my last coat, I'm going to put it on a little heavier, and of course got the little run there. Like I said, I don't think it shows on the camera, but so I'll decide what I want to do. I mean, it's not as noticeable now that it's dry. Typically for spray can paint, I don't think it's a good idea to sand on it for at least a week or so to let it thoroughly dry. So there's still a little bit of softness to it, and if you sand it, you're likely to make a bigger mess and have to start over. But once it's dried for, like I said, probably about a week or so, then I can probably hit this with a little 1500, 2000 grit maybe, and work up from there, and then polish it and wax it. There's the passenger one. It's got a little bit more texture to it than the driver's one did. But overall, compared to buying a whole new set, I think this technique worked pretty well. It worked a lot better on other vehicles that I've tried it on. Like I said, I don't know if these were just such a cheap aftermarket product that they're not even going to accept the paint as well as like a factory headlight would. Because I've tried this technique on lots of factory ones and it's always come out looking great. Unfortunately, I didn't learn about this technique until I'd already bought these aftermarket replacements.